So, yes, this has to be taken quite seriously here in the United States. And also, if you follow the Israeli press in English, which I do, the language over there is deplorable. But the same thing happened on Rabin, and that is why we have to take it very seriously. I understand the Secret Service is investigating this fellow, but I suspect he is only the tip of the iceberg. And
well, yeah, this has got to be discussed on a very wide scale for him to feel confident enough to come out and say, I'm talking to people in Mossad and this is being discussed. I mean, even if they were planning something like that, why would he be shooting his mouth off? It shows just a crazed confidence. Or was it a way to threaten Obama?
It was probably both. It was an implicit threat to Obama that if he stands in the way of a war against Iran, he could be assassinated, and also simply the arrogance of power. That fortunately we can rely on that some people are so arrogant with power that they tip their hand and they go too far. So
wow. I mean,
we have to take this threat quite seriously, because it was the same type of rhetoric that preceded the murder and assassination by Rabin all over Israel, and Likud was actively participating in that rhetoric and it basically inciting the murder and assassination of Rabin to prevent a peace treaty with Syria and any further development of a peace process. And I can assure you, being at the Middle East peace negotiations, I advised both the Palestinians and the Syrians. We could have had peace and this whole issue wrapped up peacefully if Rabin had not been assassinated, had won that election, had concluded that peace treaty with Syria, moved on to Lebanon, and then a final agreement with the Palestinians. That could have all been done, by, I don't mean to speak quickly here, but certainly the peace treaty with Syria was ready to go in late 1995.
What is Likud's, for people that haven't studied it like you, a person who's been involved in all this, what does Likud really stand for? I mean, do they just want to keep basically a quasi-military state in Israel where they can get their no-bid contracts and things, kind of like our military-industrial complex?
Well, they want the whole West Bank, all of Jerusalem, and the Golan Heights for starters. Whether they really want to move on to Jordan from there, I can't say. As you know, the sentiments in Israel is like, let's also move on to Jordan. Some of them do believe that Jordan is given to them by God as well. But I think Likud right now just wants all that territory to themselves, and all the rest is simply rhetoric. As long as Likud was in power, there was never any good faith negotiations with anyone under these peace negotiations, sponsored, by the way, by the United States government. It really took place under Rabin and Labor. And remember, Rabin was a general, and I think I'm not saying he was necessarily a highly principled man, but he was strategic, and he could view it as a military situation that peace was in Israel's interest. So let's cut a deal here. But he was offed. That was that, and that is the dangers with this rhetoric, these threats to Obama. It happened to Rabin. It could happen to Obama, sure. And of course, I deplore that. But you could imagine the chaos that would be set off in this country if the president were to be assassinated by anyone.
Well, obviously, it's going to be a USS Liberty or Lavon affair type deal. I mean, if the Mossad or somebody did kill Obama, they're going to make it look like Arabs did it or some right-wing group here domestically. I mean, I don't see elements in Israel killing Obama and then actually, actually taking the blame themselves for it. What's your view on that statement?
Well, we do know that in the first bombing of the World Trade Center, not the 9/11 one, there was a Mossad agent running it by the code name of Cindy. You can even read that in the New York Times. And she disappeared. No one knows what happened to her. So I think you're right that they will not do this directly. They would use Arabs or others as front people and stand back. Right.
So, I mean, Obama is
a Manchurian candidate type of person. They would get. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, Obama is losing value by the minute for the establishment. We know that there's all those Likudniks and eargun people all in his office. And if I was President Obama, I mean, I would be concerned because, I mean, these folks have shown they will take action. They're not usually shooting their mouths off. And let me tell you, I'm actually worried about Obama because that could be a false flag. I've always said killing Obama could be a false flag, and it could be done by you know any of these special interest groups. I don't have an obsession, with blaming Israel and perseverating all day, but you've got to point out, you've got to be honest, Israel right now is at the center of the storms that are swirling around and demanding this Iran situation. And let me tell you, folks, if Obama does get killed, immediately just don't go with the official story that it's Arabs or whatever.
Right. I think it would be a catastrophe if anything were to happen to Obama, and we would see a massive escalation of the police state here in the United States as well. So it's a very dangerous situation indeed. I saw on the wire services this morning that someone was just apprehended in an alleged plot to kill Obama. Again, whatever you think of him or even Bush Jr., they are our presidents, and we cannot be conducting politics here by having our leaders murdered. I still personally remember the tragedy after President Kennedy, and we really don't know who was behind the assassination of President Kennedy and precisely why.
Sure.
Obviously, that's still debated.
But here's an example. You're on a no-fly list for suing the government and things for violating civil rights. You're harassed, and you're a prestigious guy, held a lot of top positions. And then meanwhile, this editor over here, he should have been immediately arrested and should have been questioned, not just by the Secret Service, the FBI. Okay, you wrote in a newspaper, you're meeting with the Mossad, and the murder of a U.S. president's being discussed. I was rereading that this morning. I was reading the original paper, looking at it. I'm like, this is crazy. And the guy's out walking around. You have trouble getting on an airplane for no reason. This guy can say, I'm talking to the Mossad, and they're discussing killing the president. And then he's not in trouble. It's wild.
Well, obviously, people like that have very high level protection in the CIA, in the FBI, in the Secret Service, in the Department of Justice, in Department of Homeland Security. Remember, certainly under Bush Jr., neocons were put in power in all these agencies. So you are correct. He has protection somewhere to be able to get away with this.
Yeah, because he didn't just say option is somebody could kill Obama. He said, yeah, we're having meetings about this, and this is a, don't think I'm joking, option 3. This is a, this is a real option here, and we're looking at it. I mean, that's like, whoa, a guy saying he's representing a foreign country, and, let's look at killing the president, and it's like, oh, well, he resigned, it's okay. 2 final questions, and then any other key tidbits that you'd like to relay to people. Dr. Boyle, we really appreciate your time, and also wanted to tell folks about your books here at the end. But a lot of experts, as you said, all these generals are coming out. Former head of the Mossad's come out. A lot of Israeli generals have said it's a catastrophe, a disaster, could start World War III. I mean, it runs from bad to worse, the whole gambit, but none of it's good. It just goes from disaster to Armageddon. Literal Armageddon, all of this going on, and it's just still moving forward. The troops are massing. The case is being sold just like 2002, 2003 in the March lead up. It's all here. But from your perspective, why is an attack on Iran so disastrous? And why do you think the power structure would be leaning towards doing it?
Well, of course, we also have to understand that the American power elite very well might be considering just sacrificing Israel and its people to let Israel start the attack on Iran, using Israel as their attack dog, which Israel always has been, and then suffer the consequences from the Iranian retaliation, and then we get in there and take out what's left. So it could be, broader than the notion that Israel runs the United States, I don't find very credible. They do pretty much what we tell them to do. Not all the time, not everywhere. But we're the ones really behind the show here. And it could be that we are setting them up to be sacrificed, to take out Iran, and then we will pick up the pieces, which is all that oil and gas in Iran, and complete control and domination of the entire Persian Gulf and Central Asia as well. And this is exactly what Brzezinski recommended in his book, The Grand Chessboard. If you read his Grand Chessboard, it's all in there. So that pretty much is the strategy. It has little to do with Democrats versus Republicans. That's Tweedledum versus Tweedledee. This is the power elite that runs this country. As I said, after 9/11 and the anthrax attacks, they are going for broke to control and dominate the world. And they're going to grab all the oil and gas they can, everywhere they can, and literally break up any states that stand in their way or that have created them problems for them before. Indeed, Wolfowitz, the neocon, had me at the, well, actually was at the University of Chicago when I was there, said this after 9/11. Publicly, he said, we are going to start to break up states. And the first state they broke up was Afghanistan, then Iraq, now Libya, looks like Syria, and then Iran.
But Wesley Clark said that too. He's talked about, he was in the meeting and they said, yeah, we're going after these 8 countries. And
I think that's what the Pentagon, apparently Wesley Clark was at the Pentagon, and that's what they told him. And when Wolfowitz said, we're going to be breaking up states, he was deputy to Rumsfeld. He was the #2 guy in the Pentagon. So that simply confirms what I'm saying. Yes, that's the agenda here. And what is going on, all these states have control of oil and gas and transportation modes for oil and gas. And regretfully, most of them are Muslim. So for that reason, here in the United States, we use Muslims as scapegoats and boogeymen, which is also what we've seen after 9/11. Kind of like what the Nazis did to the Jews. Everyone needs a scapegoat. We have our scapegoat. It's the Muslims here in America, like commies under the bed when I was growing up, and they're the Muslims over there.
Well, I totally agree with you because, I mean, all this stuff, in academic papers is really public. There's kind of the mainstream news that we're all fed, and then there's the establishment communicating with itself. And, I mean, I knew this a year ago because of family in the military, but the U.S. is planning the attack. They plan to let Israel start it, take the attack, be the victim. Netanyahu's even bragged in the Washington Times that then he thinks the Israelis will rally around him, even if they don't like him because they're under attack, even though they start it. He'll say he has to. And then the big one that you mentioned, they're going to then use it as a domestic crackdown. And I believe Iran will attack Israel through proxies. That's a no-brainer. But I believe the establishment, and I see them gearing up, is going to stage attacks in Europe, the U.S., and England, and use it to crack down on civil liberties and further expand it. You see them lining up for it. I mean, they are gearing up every agency of government for war with the people. It is disgusting.
Vice President Cheney already publicly stated that they were going to blame the next major terrorist attack here in the United States on Iran. no matter who was responsible. So you're certainly correct. There will probably be some type of false flag attack. Blame it on Iran. Use it as justification for war against Iran. Of course, Congress will salute and ship out. We very well might get a formal declaration of war, which we do not have now. But if there is a formal declaration of war by Congress, you might as well kiss the Constitution goodbye.